Oh, what up, peeps? It's your girl Dash. Come back to Frontal Takes. Today I'll be doing a review to Black Lightning Season 2, Episode 4 called Translucent Freak. Now, this was a great episode. Still a lot going on with all the different characters, but nonetheless, I love it because it's a lot to kind of just see what's happening with the family, the Pierce family, and seeing all the interaction with the other characters within the show. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about the beginning part of the episode with Jennifer and Khalil. I'm going to say before I jump into it, I'm Team Jennifer and Khalil. I'm sorry, judge me how you want. I love their chemistry. I love that's, what is it, kind of like a forbidden romance type of thing, because we were only at the beginning stages of it, beginning of season 1, and it never really got any footing or traction really, because after they did the protest, him getting shot in his back, not being able to walk, and then of course aligning himself with Tobias, being his savior to help him to walk again, whichever, and kind of going on the wrong path. Now for with them, it's like, of course when you see it, you're thinking of course it's really happening, but then let's just say this. There's no way that Jefferson would have let him in the house. So right then I already knew that was a dream. That was not really happening. However, it was happening at the moment. And of course, him not being happy with her going to, a lot of people talk about prom. I'm going to say homecoming probably. I doubt that was a prom. I'm like, whatever. But, just something cute. She looked beautiful. They're taking pictures and he shows up, whatever. And he's like, really? You're ignoring me, whatever, but this is what you choose over me, whatever. And then he shoots them with a dart of what looks like to be the green light, whatever. And I love the fight sequence between her and Khalil. I love how they put some good work into making sure it's realistic as it can be, because we know clearly that both Anissa and Jennifer learned from her dad in some ways to protect themselves. We've seen it in the season 1 with Anissa, being manhandled by the boy who liked Jennifer, and in other instances where Jennifer had to protect herself from some little bullies at a skating rink. So we know they have it in them to protect themselves. Now, just watching how it got to the point where girlfriend had to take her shoes off, I'ma tell you that just all the way up the steps into her room, and then of course her getting an upper hand, and then when you see it, it does showcase Perina basically trying to get her to hone her powers, embrace her powers. It's all in her to embrace it, not to be fearful and scared of it, because as you already know in the previous episode, she wants her to work on her fear. What is truly her fear? Not understanding her powers and her powers taking over her and her being scared of her own powers. So seeing her kind of make her take it into a ball and put it into the little gold box, whatever. She almost did, but then she kind of lost her footing there, whichever and all. But they're getting better. She's showing her, what's going on, what she can do, whatever. And she's learning slowly, but not too quickly to the point where, thanks to these certain things happening, also she's still having issues with dealing with her feelings, that she's burning laptops, whichever. So her parents don't have so much, faith in her. She's being more mindful of other areas, but other parts are still need a little tweaking of sorts. So when her parents talk to her about being homeschooled, she feels like, she cannot win in any way. She feels like, she's a danger. They don't trust her, whatever, and all that. They think, she's a freak, whatever. Now her father's trying to explain to her she's not, or whatever. But she doesn't want to hear it. And at that moment, you all see towards the end of the episode how she ends up meeting up with Cliff. She'd been avoiding his text, didn't want anything to do with it. But she finally realizes that, it's a no-win situation. Now, I'm going to just kind of, do certain things that she does, kind of forbidding her parents. Anissa did have a conversation with her early on, telling her to stay away from him, it's not good. And she's like, okay, I haven't been responding. He sent it to me. I didn't say anything, whatever, and all that. Giving her this, this advice, whatever. But it's rather funny, her telling her sister what to do, but she doesn't follow the advice of what her dad. So let's jump into Anissa here. Now, Anissa, like I said in the last couple episodes, kind of getting a little too, big-headed for her britches, with the fact that, of course, she's known as Thunder. She's got the power. She's doing this. She's getting accolades. People clapping on the streets when she helps to protect, the citizens of Freeland, and, of course, the authorities, whichever. Her dad said, not to, lose focus, whatever. She's like, Dad, come on, let's, it's nothing, it's nothing wrong with, taking a little bit of accolade, whatever. They feel like they work hard, whatever. But her dad's like, no, maintain the focus, whatever. That's a distraction. Other things she did with Gaby last episode, where she was out trying to get money from a drug deal, whatever, to help fund a clinic, whatever. Gaby, of course, does not feel comfortable. He's there to help her, to make sure she doesn't get in any trouble, to get the money, whatever, and she does what she needs to do to take the money to the pastor to help the clinic. Now, of course, in this episode, her father finds out, because Gaby's like, I'm going to eventually, your father's going to find out, because he can't lie. He cannot definitely keep anything from him after what happened in season 1. He's back into the good graces of the family, and he wants to stay there. So he tells him he's none too happy, so he has a discussion with Anissa about what's happening with her. What's going on with you? You're trailing off, there's a certain rules to follow. And she's like, no, these are not the rules. I've set for myself to do this, whichever. It's about them. And he's like, no, this is not about the people. It's overall doing the right thing. Granted, they are vigilantes, but they try to stay a certain code and rules of doing it the right way. And she's not down for it. He's like, if you're under my roof, you're going to follow my rules. And at that moment, she's like, well, you know what? I'll be out here by morning, whichever. And that's where he already knows, because the difference between Anissa and Jennifer is Jennifer is a child. Anissa is a grown adult. She's staying there. She loves being with her family. But if this is what her father's going to keep doing and pressing her and being a little too hard on her, he's going... This is the backlash you get with that. So now she's basically going to move out. She's staying with Gaby at first, whichever. And in the midst of all this other stuff, whichever... She realizes that even though she thought she was doing a good deed by dealing with the clinic, she also dealt with a situation where she has to come to her father, thinking he would grovel a little bit, but then feel like he's going to get the upper hand of letting her know, I told you so. He doesn't do that. He's just lucky that he knows the situation, because now they feel like the clinic's going to be threatened, and in some ways it was. We have a woman who happened to be pregnant, shows up, whatever, come to find out, walks out within a few minutes. She's no longer pregnant. So of course, whatever she's given birth to is now somewhere inside the building, and now they have to go in there and save the people, clear out the building, whatever, and get the bombs that were left, whatever. Gaby, of course, has a good little fight sequences where he gets somewhat of upper hand, but then he loses the upper hand in that as well. So in the end, it's just like a learning thing for Anissa to realize, even though you're trying to do good, even since season 1, where she's been kind of, like I said, an activist, whatever, and trying to do things to help, her community. She loves her community. She loves, her people, whichever. But you can't always being rash with her decisions and not really fully thinking them through. Her dad has told her this many times, but she at times can come off as a very hothead at times about certain situations, and then learns the value of certain judgment calls she makes that always don't turn out the way she thinks. And then you have to turn to the people who you care the most, or care the most about you, to show you, take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and then that's what happened. Now, with that said, her father, even though they're still slightly on the outs, they came together. He let her know she can stay at her father's, his father's old house, whatever, so she'll have a place to go to where she's at least safe. No one knows about the house, as you all remember in season 1. They kept it off the books or whatever, so if anything was to go down, as you all saw in season 1, close to the finale, they have a place they can go to, the shelter that no one knows about, so they can feel somewhat safe. Now, with Jefferson, aka Black Lightning, he's still having a situation at the school. That principal, oh my gosh. Now, there's a scene where it's 2 kids having some little situation, popping off at the mouth. Of course, he shows up, whatever, because they're about to get into a fight. He makes them shake hands, realize it's not a big thing. But of course, by then, authorities within, I'm assuming security or police, and the principal shows up, and he's like zero tolerance. That was one of the things that it seems to be the issue since he met him in the last season, meaning they're all about this, because with all the things that went on down there, this seems to be the part where, even though Jefferson does a good job in regards to education and making sure the kids stay on the right track of certain other areas, but when it comes to things like this, he doesn't always seem to have control of the students, whatever, because they're going to be kids, saying things. One of them don't like it, then they want to use fists to handle it, whatever, and then this is what happens. So with the zero tolerance, one of them has been expelled, one of them's detention, whatever, or something for like a week, and he's like, they've made amends, whatever. He's like, no, zero tolerance. So he follows into the office and he explains to him, he says, we're not doing this. I understand what you're trying to do, but to avoid anything happening, even though they have the metal detectors, doesn't mean anything, whatever. We're going to try this, because Jefferson's like, you don't understand the kids well enough, whatever, and all that. We need to have them have this place where they can come to. They feel, they care for, they're understood, whatever, because outside the school, they might not be understood. It might be a side of them you don't want to see, meaning they could possibly become angry, vengeful, whatever, and all that, and retaliate, whichever is what he's trying to make the principal understand. But he's like, no, I have to maintain zero tolerance. And I feel like Definitely the principal feels his way, and also the school board. We already know how the school board feels about them. They don't particularly care for, Jefferson Pierce at all, whatever. And when that incident happened in last season towards the end of the finale, the kids being in danger because of Khalil and Tobias all showing up at the school, they're sticking to their guns, whichever. It's, and it's not for the benefit of of the students at all. It's all about the school, whatever. Like I said, you guys, in our last review, I feel like eventually some stuff is going to go down regardless under Principal Lowry's watch, and they're going to eventually realize, regardless of what you were saying about him, it can happen at any time under anybody else's watch, regardless of the principal or not, and he might eventually get his job back, and I'm hoping they do reinstate him. I feel like throughout this whole season, he probably won't be reinstated, but I think by season 3, like I said, they will be. Now, from that, there's a situation moving on to Lynn Pierce. Now, with her, she, of course, like, Age Odell letting her, work within the building, dealing with the pods, dealing with this. They brought in a particular doctor who is, of course, shackled. I didn't discuss this last season. My apologies for that. Her name is Dr. Chase, and Dr. Jace, excuse me. She is very cunning, very cold, calculating in some ways, whichever, but clearly you can tell there's a lot to her, because the fact that they have her chained up, like she's done some real damage, and she has done some. She basically is all about knowing the work, knowing the history, the medical, the health, whatever, and all that, what it can give her to understand whatever she's working on, and she makes it fairly abundant. Now, granted, they let her work with Lynn. She has to wear some sort of sensor that's embedded in her skin, so she can only go in a certain radius, whatever. So within this episode, you see her, working on the pods with Lynn, whatever, and one of them she uses as an example and all that. She doesn't care if they're killed. These kids are killed in the pod. She does not care at all. She does come across some documentation that belongs to Lynn. Does not realize, that it's about Jefferson and the girls. And she's like, oh my gosh, this group of people, have this, whatever. If we could, do all this, investigation, and poke and prod and learn about these people, whatever. I feel like they're all related, whatever. And of course, the look on Lynn's face, because if it was to ever come out, that would be an issue for the family. They would be under just scrutiny of being endangered, clearly. Now, granted, they can take care of themselves, but they would literally be on the run, and she would have to be with them if it does come out. So hopefully, whatever information was on the document does not give way to them realizing who it is, under the reveal of knowing those 3 people. But she has to watch it. I wish she had disposed of that information. I don't know why she kept that anywhere near her place of business. She should have took that crap home. But whatever, it is what it is. It just basically adds more to the story. Now, also, the last close to the last part, with Jefferson Pierce dealing with Detective Henderson, they're still on the outs a little bit. He's still working with him. Now that Tobias has been locked up, he wants to come forward, whatever, to see. Now, granted, we never know really what information they have on him to even arrest him. He's being locked up for 48 hours, whatever. Now we're introduced to the district attorney, played by Sally. I want to say it's Sally Richardson Whitfield, excuse me. She, of course, is an actress, but now she's directing lots of different episodes for different shows, and I'm actually happy to see her behind the camera as well in the front. She, of course, is doing double duty. She's a director for this episode and also an actress in this episode. She, of course, explains to Henderson and Jefferson Pierce that regardless, we have him for 40 hours, but we can't keep him. What do you have? He's already gotten rid of the cop. He got rid of one of his work, henchmen or whatever from early on with what happened to Alvin Pierce. And he's just tying up all his loose ends, so they have nothing to use against him. And it looks like rightfully he has done just that. Now, granted, Jefferson does bring to the table, yes, I was there. Henderson did not know that. Of course, they take him into an interrogation room, and she kind of gives him what will happen inside of a courtroom. Oh, you say this, whatever, so that means you lied early on. He was trying to protect himself. Gaby, of course, got rid of any evidence, whatever, so that nobody would ever figure out who he was to come for him when he was younger, which if Tobias had done, we would not have, of course, no Black Lightning. So in the end, it was to protect him. He is hurt, whatever, because they're like, we're going to have to let him go. If you speak up, whatever, you've, of course, exposed yourself, then you put yourself and your family at risk. So what's happening with that is this. They have to let him go. And of course, you see the scene, Tobias walking out, whichever. If you all saw Daredevil, similar to him in Fisk, they're walking out talking to the reporters. I'm so proud of the justice system, whatever. I'm being exonerated after all these years, these decades that have passed, whatever. I want to become a part of the community, pillar of the community again. And, he's just, feeling this way. I hope they can find the real killer, for Jefferson Pierce and his family so they can be at peace. And, of course, you see Jefferson sitting there, his eyes light up with the lightning, and you see the scene with him holding his, a little glass of, his drink or whatever. And I like how it was turning inside the drink. I thought he was going to break the glass, honestly. And then you just notice, the scene of Tobias, of course, at the end he turns around, he's in, looks like in a club, whatever, he's like, I'm back. And they're like 100, 100. So that means now that he has his crew behind him on top of Khalil being his right hand now the Cyanide is dead. It's going to be very interesting from here on out because now it's times of the essence. They got to find something. And I keep trying to figure out if whatever Gaby got in one last part, excuse me guys, there's a scene with Gaby, with Kara, she has sepsis and she's not healing, she's not going to get better, she's going to die, and she basically at first is hesitant to tell him anything, but eventually she realizes this, she has to be honest with Gaby. He wants to help him to help her deal with Tobias. She tells, of course, he has the briefcase, she gives him her phone, whichever, and she tells him one last thing, and I don't blame her for this because who's to say what they would have done with her body. She tells him, please burn my body, do not bury me, because if Tobias found out she'd been somewhere, he might have used that to torment her, and everything else, so that's the good thing with that part. But she did give us, I keep wondering if Carr was the one that tipped them off, like she could have been following them and tipped them off or whatever, because I don't think Khalil did that. Khalil is too close to Tobias right now, and like I said before, he doesn't want to put himself in danger anymore than he already feels he is, and also his mother. So I don't think that he told. I think Carr might have, somebody had to have been following him, and I want to believe it was more so her, whatever, prior to her showing up, might have known that he goes there. I don't know. That's far-fetched, but there could be somebody else in the wings we just don't know about, whatever, and all that. Things can still eventually come out. But overall, this episode was great. I enjoyed this immensely. I can't say it enough, how much this was good, whichever. And again, one of my highlights, honestly, was the beginning 5 minutes of the episode with Khalil and Jennifer. That scene was done so well. I liked a little bit of the music, but just the tension, whichever. And then just that fight. That was a good fight. I just can't say it enough how good that thing was. But yes, I'm looking forward to Jennifer finally embracing her powers enough. I know a lot of people will talk about, oh, she needs to stop whining, whatever. No, she does not need to stop whining. This girl never wanted this for herself. Jennifer doesn't want this. Anissa's embracing it, whatever. She's all happy for it. But Jennifer is different. She's a child. Anissa, being a little bit more order, she's all about activism. Of course, this is going to help her, deal with certain things in the community. Then she would love it. Her father's trained her. Jennifer, on the other side, whatever, and all, enjoys hanging with her girlfriends. Being a kid, like I said, homecoming, down the road, prom, college, getting married, having kids, things of that nature. She made it abundantly clear last season, and I can see how she feels. It's like, once she does eventually embraces them and the things that she thinks she could probably do, good with that, then that will be great. But I like that they're being realistic with her and her, fighting, whatever, and all that. Scared of her powers too, because she's similar to her dad, whatever, and not understanding this, whatever, and him eventually over years honing his skill to maintain. Clearly, like I said, key point, him holding that glass, whatever, bourbon, whatever, and he's just circling in the drink. He could have broke the glass, whatever, but he knows how to control his powers well enough to not cause himself harm or hurt himself. So that's what I like. But yes, I really want her to come to grips with this slowly throughout the season. Doesn't have to be right away, because then it won't be realistic to me. Tobias, now I want to know what's up next with him. What is he going to be doing now? We saw a little bit of the preview for next week's episode, whatever, and all that. He's either want people who are on his side, or then you're going to die, whatever. So that feel like that puts Khalil in a dire strait, being that he met up with Jennifer at the end of the episode, whichever, against her, the wishes of her sister, whatever. But it's going to be hard for them to stay away, because it's almost like they feel like they're the only two that understands each other enough to know that, the judgment there. She knows that he did what he did to her dad, whatever, and all that, but she doesn't know, he doesn't know that's her father. He doesn't know how he's tied to that, whichever. But then her understanding that Tobias is a bad guy and what he might be doing to her at the time boyfriend or whatever. So it's just so many layers on this, whichever, that can go either way. Same thing with Anissa. She needs to really focus on what's the greater good and being mindful and careful at the things that she makes decisions on doing, especially when she's not involving her father in them. You're working alone. You're being definitely a vigilante all by yourself. At least with your father, you have, that balance between the two. Sometimes he might know certain things she does, whichever. Same thing with Lynn. Lynn needs to watch her back. She's finding information that she has. She's not going to be forthcoming. Dr. Jace might start putting two and two together, like, why did you have this information? What does this mean? She might start doing background on her. 3 people, her husband, her 2 kids. So many ways the season can go. I'm here for it. I love it. I love me some Black Lightning. I'm so excited. Every episode just gets better and better. I'm loving what I'm seeing, and I don't need to ramble on enough for you guys. I've done enough. Comment below. Let me know what you all think of this episode. What did you enjoy the most? Whichever. What are you all trying to look forward to seeing moving forward in all the remaining episodes? And with that said, I'll see you guys on the next review. You guys take care.